Welcome to Brave with Lisa. This space is designed to inspire, champion, and equip you to bravely walk in that unique rhythm of grace and calling that God has designed just for you. I'm so excited you're joining us today. Welcome to Brave with Lisa. I'm your host, Lisa Bruton, and today I'm so excited because we get to hear from Tracy Harris. Now, Tracy is absolutely kicking goals in her business and life and just really showing up on Instagram in such a fresh and impacting way. And I see her just championing women in business in just big ways and really supporting them. And I'm just so excited to learn from you today, Tracy. So welcome.
Hello, Lisa. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here.
Tracy, can you share with us, what does your world look like and what are you passionate about?
Oh my gosh, my world is just so beautiful and blessed. Last night, hubby came to me just on the couch. We'd just put the boys to bed. I've got two little boys, they're 9 and 6. And he said, can we just take a moment before we sit and watch whatever we were going to watch on Netflix and just like celebrate how beautiful our life is that we get to live. Like just the quiet of the house now at this hour, the peace that we have, how cute our kids are, how much hard work they are.
Yeah.
But just how we've navigated the different seasons of parenthood and marriage, and just that we're happy, that we're healthy, that our boys, they fight, but gosh, they love each other. And, like we just are so blessed. And then I thought, what a blessing to even have this man who is my husband coming and initiating this conversation. I'm like, oh, I just love it all. So that's what my day-to-day looks like. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. People always find that a little
gorgeous.
bit cute.
I love that.
Yes, he's also my business partner. He left his corporate career to join me in growing this beautiful online business of mine 6 years ago. So when we became parents for the second time 6 years ago, he handed in his resignation just 4 days before our son was born, our second son. And he wanted to be equal partners in parenting with me. We didn't want to have a primary parent. He was like, I want to be the primary parent too. Like, let's live an unconventional life together. Let's grow the business together. Let's both do the parenting thing together. And so, that's what we do. We have an online business and have had now for going on 9 years. And our 2 boys, and we work from home, and
well done. And, you're saying, look at how blessed our life is, but that comes with partnering with God in some risky and big steps, right?
Terrifying steps, defying logic every step of the way, literally just following the prompts and being okay with not having the big picture. It's so terrifying. And sometimes it can go against everything that you thought you even believed about work or business or how families should operate. Like, we've been challenged in so many ways.
I can only imagine. And so can we kind of pause over that? And can you share a little bit maybe about what does a prompt feel like or look like? And how do you process it with God and with your husband?
Oh my gosh, I've always had them. And sometimes I'm talking about my husband when he's not even here, but he won't mind me sharing this. Like, he and I have many open conversations about our faith and how God speaks to us. And for each of us, it's different. And there've been times where he's a bit jealous or envious. And he's like, oh, Tracy, yours are so obvious. Like, all on like audio or like clear downloads and words and instructions. And he's like, I don't have that. And when we were younger, he'd say, well, maybe God doesn't really talk to me. But then he'd experience God in other ways and be like, oh, okay, yeah. Mine just happens in other ways. But for me, it is very clear. Like it's short.
Yeah.
Short instructions, clear. It hits me in the gut. It also lands out of nowhere.
Yes.
And then I feel like I have to run to write it down immediately. Like it's like stop, drop, and just write down this thing. And it could be an Instagram caption. It could be a new offer that God wants me to work on in my business. It could, last week, I messaged one of my private clients. I'm doing some private coaching with one of the ladies that's in my mastermind. And God just gave me literally like a sentence that was her one-liner to describe what it is that she does and how she does it and who it's for. And it was something that she was trying to land on for so long. And it came to me, I don't even remember what I was doing at the time, but I stopped and I dropped and I sent her a voice message. I was like, God just whispered in my ear, your new bio, one line, this is it. And I said it to her and she was like, oh, that's it. Like, and she said, thank you for sharing this with me. Like, we haven't had any faith-based conversations, her and I. I'm not even sure about her spiritual, religious beliefs, but I just was unapologetic in saying, God told me this, I'm just delivering the message. And likewise for a charity that we support, they're called Forever Projects. And I speak to that founder to mark, I don't know, every few months. But last week, it was so late. It was like 9 p.m., which is late for me. Usually by then my brain is mush. And no, God spoke very clearly to me about what he wants Mark to do in terms of additional revenue generation. And I just went and I just gave him this 6-minute voice message in Voxer, and he was just like, oh, thank you so much. Like, this marries up with the things, you know, that I'm thinking, but I'm afraid to do, or I was wondering about, but now it's affirmation. And so I'm going to go and do this.
Oh, that is cool.
It's in that way.
Yes. Yes. And I actually can relate to that. That's the way I operate too. And for my husband, he is more moved by peace, like having a peace about things or just a deep knowing. But yeah, we have really different, like you and your husband. And it's cool when you can chat about it and then land on it in different ways, but on the same thing.
Yeah. And it's just, I cherish having those conversations with Carl, you know. Him, he would definitely connect with that inner knowing, like almost like a spidey sense.
I love that. That describes it. So Tracy, take us back a bit. How did this business begin?
Out of great pain, Lisa, out of great pain.
I should be laughing, but like, I get it.
Oh, look, I think God laughs at us all the time. Well, you know, so before I had my online business, which is now going back 9 years ago, I was a primary teacher at a Catholic school. And I felt like God had placed that in my heart and in my path, and even rearranged things, because for a little while, it looked like I wasn't even going to be able to get into uni. Like, big things happened. My dad passed away when I was 17 in my HSC year. And that had huge effects on how I showed up at school and what I was able to do. And so he passed away in that year 12, but he was diagnosed at the end of grade 11. And so there was 6 months while he was ill, before he passed, where our whole world was thrown upside down, and we had visitors from overseas, and our living arrangements in our teeny tiny house in Southwest Sydney was like, I don't know, there was just people everywhere, people popping over from overseas, really here, my dad's siblings to say final goodbyes and be with him. And so our routine was just not how it normally is, not the best conditions for study. How many people sharing one bathroom? Like, it was chaotic and intense. Not to mention the illness, then grief and loss. And so I'm not surprised that my grades took a bit of a dive. But I'd always been such a studious person, always. And so that was really hard for me to accept. And I was trying my absolute best because I did want to go to university and I wanted to be a teacher and I wanted to teach at Catholic schools. So anyway, my uni grades came out and I think I missed out by 3 points on being able to go to university. So I was a bit like, how is this happening? Anyway, God knew, moved mountains, like crazy story. The university I wanted to go to called the school and said, if there's anyone at the school that you feel needs extra UAI points at the time, here's 5 extra points to give to someone out of goodwill and faith. And the school chose me.
Oh,
because I had actually applied to whoever at the time was running the HSC as under a misadventure. There was like a special thing where you could say you've experienced hardships or, you know, an injury or something that has had drastic effects on your ability to perform at school. And they would give you these extra UAI points. Well, I applied for that and I got rejected. Even though I shared the whole thing that happened with Dad, and that got rejected. So that was weird and painful. So then for the university to just contact the school, it was just God's hand in everything. So I ended up at university and I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Within 5 years, I applied to be the religious education coordinator at a school. Again, defied the logic of that system of education. And I became the youngest person ever to receive that role. I was 28 years old.
Wow.
And I'd never had a leadership role, not even an acting one in any capacity. So that didn't land well with a lot of people. You can just imagine. People will come out and say all sorts of things about, you know, how I got that role or why I got that role or whatever. And it really was that when I attended a pilgrimage for World Youth Day in 2011, and I had a moment on that pilgrimage where God said, it doesn't make sense. You need to go and apply to be religious education coordinator. So I did, and I followed that prompt and I got that job straight away. And so, yeah, to everyone else, it didn't make sense. But to me, I was like, of course I got the job because God told me I was going to get the job. Yeah, I skipped all the steps.
I love that.
Yes. But then, Lisa, I only had that role for 2 years when I became a mother. And I returned to work after my maternity leave as a young person in this role. And their first time having to navigate someone being in executive leadership and being on maternity leave because I was younger. They hadn't really had anyone in that season of life.
Yeah, I bet.
And so that created some issues, some maternal bias of me returning to the workplace, people not happy that I wanted to do so at a job share capacity, and all sorts of things happened that were awful. And I found, like, to go against the gospel, I was like, what is this? It felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I now know God was plucking me out of that situation because I'd done my piece and I was needed elsewhere. And then I was told to go and start this business for other women who identify as being ambitious so that they can be leaders in their own homes and leaders of online communities and do it in a different way. So being there to mother our children, to lead our homes and families, but to also bring in abundance for our families and be catalysts for change. So that's what I'm doing now.
That's incredible. But like, where did you start? So I love, so you heard from God, you knew what was behind it, but then it's like, well, how do I walk this out, God?
Oh my gosh. So then that piece came from my husband, I would say. We were sitting in the lounge room and he's like, let's just brainstorm all of the things that people in your everyday life and at work have always come to you for.
That's clever.
So we did, and we wrote each thing out on Post-it notes and we stuck it up on the wall. And then I was like, okay, some of those things I'm so passionate about and they feel so effortless and easy for me. Like I'm almost in disbelief that other people can't do them or they come to me for that. And they're fun for me.
Yes.
And then other things are like, yeah, people come to me for that, but I don't like it. I don't, it doesn't light me up. So kind of separated the two. And from that list of the things that light me up that people come to me for, things I've been complimented on, even as a child, like, your true self, your soul's essence. It's like all of that just led me to starting a podcast, which is me sharing my voice with the world, having women come on, share their experience of growing an online business, deeply tied to me building a place where we grow in knowledge, but also where we share knowledge, sharing our own knowledge with the purpose of helping other women.
Wow, that's incredible. Can you still hear me okay? So we just had a little interlude there with a bit of internet problem, but no big deal. And we're back. And I have to say, Tracy, everything you're saying, my heart is like, yes, yes, yes. It's just, I just love it. And something that is really standing out as to the process of how you began was how you wrote down, yeah, I can do this, but does it make my heart sing? No, it doesn't. What's the things that just bring me alive? And how you even knew to go that way, because there is definitely a mindset that I had to work through. And I'd say it was old mindsets where if I thought if God was in it, it had to be really hard, and rather than, well, what brings me joy and how am I actually wired? And you just went with that.
I think God wants us, or God is the extra in the ordinary. Like that's what extraordinary is. It's like ordinary things, ordinary people, but they become extra when God is in it. So, and God doesn't want us to be just mediocre.
Yeah.
So we have all been made uniquely and with zones of genius that other people don't possess. And so, it goes against what society teaches, which is, don't brag and all of those sorts of things. But it's like, no, we do have to stop and focus on the things that make us uniquely different, and what do we excel at, and what are the parts of our personality that, are magnetic, and how can we use those to really serve?
Excellent.
And we're supposed to be having fun while we do it.
Right. I agree, Tracy. I love that. And so tell me, because we live in Australia and you're also a woman, have you come up against the tall poppy syndrome that we are known for in Australia?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But my whole community that I've built online, it's called Mums with Hustle. Like, we are the women that do celebrate our accomplishments or our big visions. And we are the women that get excited when we see another woman achieving and rising. And then we go, I want to learn from her, or gosh, look at her go. And now all of a sudden there's something ignited or sparked within us that calls us to do more or be more. God wants us, it's not out of ego and out of being popular that, our reasons for showing up and shining and sharing what's going on and all the goodness. It's like, if we don't do that, the world is already such a dark place.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, if we mute ourselves and dim our light and only show up when we want to bond over what's hard, what's broken, what are the problems, it's like, when is the light ever going to be there? Like, we have an opportunity and I think an obligation and a duty to shine light on the good
Mm.
parts of our lives, on the healthy parts of our relationship. It's not out of pretending that challenges don't happen and that everything is perfect. No, it's not.
Mm.
But it comes back to, focusing on gratitude and choosing to share those moments and what that ignites in other people when we pass that on, versus what happens when we just show up and bond over struggles
Yes.
and brokenness. It's like, yeah, that's part of the human experience, but it's not the entire human experience.
Mm.
Let's talk about the things that are light and working and abundant.
Yes. So from what I'm hearing, Tracy, is it's actually quite key to find those who are also shining, and so that you can encourage each other. And I reckon you gain courage from each other as well, right? From seeing others shining, and then just wanting to champion each other, but they also champion you back. So it's finding that, for the better of a word, tribe, isn't it?
Yes, finding your people where that sort of behavior is normalized, where you're allowed to come in and celebrate a success and have people just cheer you on. And yes, it activates, like, we're humans.
Mm.
We become the average of the 5 people that we spend our time with. So when you're in community with people that are taking risks and sharing their wins and small steps progress, sharing the progress as big wins,
Yeah.
it motivates you and it activates something in you to start doing the same. And now all of a sudden we've got this culture where that is normal, and it just keeps growing. And that's how we create this change together. But we're not going to create it if we just hide it and never tell anyone about it. I think the distinction is we're not telling people about it so that we can get praise.
Mm.
We're telling people about it because that's another way for us to be of service to each other, to hold everyone accountable to their own light that is within them.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I will be rewinding and replaying that phrase that you just said then, Tracy. Oh, goosebumps.
But it feels uncomfortable for me all the time, because if I'm wanting my community and my mentees to do this and to be, that person that celebrates small steps forward, then I have to go first.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels scary because it's public. So it's like showing up and saying, I just achieved this thing, or we just hired this new person, or we just crossed this revenue milestone. That one in particular makes me feel so uncomfortable. I kind of put it out there and I'm like, I hope no one sees that. I don't mind if that post doesn't do too well. But yes, I have to go first. If I'm really telling my audience, hey, you should be celebrating your wins and your progress.
And that is so key, I think. I know when I've done some big leaps of faith and they haven't even begun, I've heard God say to me, now celebrate, well done, celebrate, and so it's even, you haven't seen the success. It's just taking brave steps that he wants me to celebrate as well.
Yes, because I think if we, just neuroscience also proves to us that we are mapping our brain to have a positive relationship with risk and, action steps forward. It's like we have to tell ourselves it is safe for me to take this risk. And what makes it be safe and pleasurable is if we did celebrate. And that could be celebrating by taking, the family to the movies on a school night and,
That's exactly right.
Or it could be celebrating with a nice glass of wine, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be epic, but it's about acknowledging and basking in the moment to really celebrate and honor what you just did.
Oh, that is so true. Okay, Tracy, I have no doubt that there are women going, oh, she's really speaking to my heart right now, and things are going off in their minds. And we've covered a number of things. How can women follow you, reach out to you, or even be a part of this incredible community that you have built?
Oh, I would just love to connect with them all. So on Instagram, the place to go is Mums with Hustle, and it's just all one word, no underscores or anything like that. So come and follow, come and say hello in the DMs. And then I have a weekly podcast as well, the Mums with Hustle podcast. It comes out every Monday and has been for 9 years. I can't quite believe it.
Done.
When I started, I was like, oh, I don't really have that much to say. Surely it'll just go for a year or two. Well, no.
Well done.
Yeah. So that podcast is on iTunes. It's on my website, tracyharris.co. It's everywhere that all good podcasts are.
It sure is. And I just want to pause for a moment on that because, God's asked me to, just do, well, actually it started years ago and he's like, I just want you to do a weekly encouragement, video. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I've got much to say. And he just said to me, trust me to bring the fresh wine each time, that I won't stop the flow of creativity and the flow of content. And that's what I see with you. You've got this abundance of content and you're just getting more and more. And there is something about not holding things back because of fear of not having enough for the future, but just you really give a lot on your Instagram. Like you give so many amazing key tips for me. I grab them and I'm like, she just gave that for free. It's amazing.
Well, honestly, to me, it feels like I have a Niagara Falls, like source of water flowing. Like, honestly, it is not stopping. There's so much. Like, I cannot tell you how much more I have already written, saved in drafts in the notes section of my phone. It's like, and then I just wait to be instructed on when to post what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, everyone, I can't recommend or, highly enough for you to follow Tracy on Mums with Hustle and reach out to her. She's an absolute delight, wealth of creative wisdom. And, you're just going to be blessed to have her either in your feed or in your life. So thank you, Tracy, for your time and just for inspiring us today.
Gratefully received. My heart is feeling like it's on fire. Thank you, Lisa. I think I feel incredibly blessed to be here, to be having the conversation with you. And I'm just already grateful for the women that I know are going to come in the DMs and say, I listened to Lisa's podcast.
Yes.
Like, I wonder who those people are. I'm deeply curious and interested. And community is everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you for just what you're doing for women around the world and just the voice that you are and just the incredible delight that you are as well. So bless you. Thank you. And looking forward to having everyone back here next week.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining me on Brave with Lisa. I hope that it has inspired or impacted you in a small or large way. Feel free to comment, to subscribe, and share with some friends. And please join us next week on another conversation we will have here on this channel on Brave with Lisa.